The story begins with a group of soldiers who were sent on a dangerous mission to a strange island. Now we see a helicopter pilot who is on that same mysterious island. Suddenly, he heard a sound, a faint whisper, and the sound of footsteps. Out of fear, he pulled out his gun and moved toward the sound. But suddenly, he saw a gun on the ground. However, it was no ordinary gun. It was exactly like his own gun. It was the same model, and the mark on his gun was the same mark and the same number as well. Seeing this, he became panicked. How could the same gun be in two places? But before he could get a chance to think, someone suddenly came from behind and brutally killed him. The man who attacked him was also wearing clothes exactly like the pilot's. He picked up the pilot's bag, ran toward the helicopter, and quickly flew it away. But as soon as the helicopter flew into the sky, it crashed into an invisible wall. The truth was that this entire island was surrounded by a massive energy field, and because of this, the helicopter was burnt to ashes in a ball of fire. No one can leave from here. The story goes back a bit in time, and now we see an ex-military woman named Addison in the city of San Francisco. She had come here to meet a man named Chase. Addison wanted to recruit him for a very dangerous mission. Addison told Chase that they knew everything about him. He was previously in the army, but was kicked out after a failure in a mission. Even his name has been erased from government papers, as if he never existed in this world. And this was the reason Addison wanted to join him with her. Her company was looking for people who were not even alive on paper. Anyway, Chase asked what the mission was, so Addison explained that they had to go to a mysterious island. He would have only one job, to bring back the company owner's daughter, Stacy. In exchange, he would get crores of rupees, so much that he could sit and eat comfortably for the rest of his life. Hearing this, Chase was surprised. If he just had to go to an island and bring someone back, why so much money? But he didn't ask many questions. He needed money very much, so he said yes. After this, Addison found her second companion, whose name was Rusk. Rusk was a sharp-minded detective and an expert in martial arts, but his story was very painful. His entire family had died in an accident, and since that day, he only took on the most dangerous missions. When Addison told him about the money and the mission as well, Rusk also said yes to joining. Then the next day, the whole team gathered at a private airbase. Now, Addison had a team of 6 people, including Chase and Rusk. Addison began explaining the mission to everyone. She said that there are 2 research centers on that island, one in the north and one in the south. They would land in the middle of the island by helicopter, then be divided into 2 teams and search both places. The south team consisted of Addison, Chase, and Dex, while the north team was Rusk and Colt, who knew how to operate heavy weapons well, and then Tag, who was a genius with machines and drones. They didn't know which center Stacy was being kept in, so both teams were going to search in their respective areas. As soon as Stacy was found, everyone would meet back at the point in the middle of the island near the helicopter. Then we see that before the mission started, Tag was sitting alone looking at a picture of his daughter. His wife had died, and his daughter had become his whole world. But now that daughter was fighting a terrible disease. Her treatment was very expensive, and Tog didn't have that much money. This was the reason he accepted this mission. He was doing all this only for his daughter. A while later, when the whole team was sitting together, a very strange thing came up during the conversation. None of them had anyone left of their own. No parents, no life partner, and no one else to wait for them. Thinking about this, a question began to arise in everyone's mind. Was this just a coincidence, or did the company deliberately choose those people who had nothing to lose? In a short while, everyone sat in the helicopter and flew toward that mysterious island. After a long flight of 15 hours, they had reached there. As soon as the helicopter touched the ground, the team split into 2 parts according to the plan. Addison, Chase, and Dex began moving toward the south, but after going a short distance, their steps stopped because what was in front of them was heart-wrenching. Many corpses were lying scattered on the ground. People had been killed in such a way as if some wild beast had torn them apart. The 3 prepared their weapons and began moving forward cautiously. Addison immediately pulled out the radio and wanted to warn the other team, but no answer came. The radio was completely dead. Dex immediately took out his diary and began writing. Whenever a place felt wrong to him, he would make a note of all that, and this island was looking more dangerous every moment. On the other side, Rusk, Tag, and Colt were moving toward the north in the forest. Suddenly, Rusk's eyes fell on a rope that was tied to a tree. It looked very old, but seeing its knot, he felt very strange. Rusk said that he felt like he had tied this before, but he composed himself, thinking how that could be possible, and moved forward. In a short while, their radio also went dead. Now both teams were unable to have any contact with each other. Meanwhile, in the south, Addison's team was finding more and more corpses. No one knew how they died. Then, moving a little further, they found an empty camp. Addison set up her portable signal booster there and tried again, but still, no connection was made. But at that same moment, Dex found something even more surprising. He took off a watch from a corpse, and as soon as he saw it, his color faded. That watch was exactly like the one he was wearing. The same brand, the same design, the same scratches. But how could this be? Chase said that it might just be a coincidence. Don't think too much, brother. The corpse's face was completely distorted, making it impossible to recognize. Perhaps some animal had attacked. While both teams were searching the island on their respective sides, they had told the pilot to stay near the helicopter. But then, strange sounds began to fall into his ears in the forest. And now, we have reached where the story began. The person who had come to attack the pilot was not an ordinary man, but rather a changed, mutated human who had been turned into a beast by some strange power of this island. After killing the pilot, that changed man sat in the helicopter and tried to escape, but as soon as the helicopter flew into the air and began to go up, it crashed into an invisible wall and exploded with a loud blast. This incident proved that no one can escape from this island. On the other side, near the camp, Tag and Dex suddenly heard a sound. When they went to see, their eyes remained wide open. A man was standing alive in front of them. He identified himself as Dr. Young. He explained that he had come here this morning with his research team, but when they reached the island, everything was already destroyed. The people of his team were killed one by some unknown thing. Hearing this, Addison and the other people were surprised. Addison said that no other team was supposed to come here before us, but Dr. Young stuck to his word. Then those people asked him about Stacy, the same girl they had come here to save. As soon as he heard Stacy's name, Dr. Young's face changed, and he slowly told them to come with him. He took them to a lone building in the middle of the forest. There, a corpse was lying on the ground. Her face was badly damaged. This girl was Stacy, meaning she was already dead. Seeing this sight, everyone was stunned. The one they had come here to save had died long ago. Addison slowly looked at everyone else and asked, "Will we get the money now?" But no one had an answer. After thinking a bit, they decided that they would take Stacy's body with them so that there would be some proof. It was night, and the way to the helicopter was quite far, so they decided to spend the night there in the camp and leave in the morning. They were still unable to make any contact with the other team to tell them that the mission was complete. Here, Dr. Young was feeling a bit of relief. He said, "At least I am not alone. I will leave from here with you people." But then another strange thing happened. Dex was writing something in his diary when Dr. Young saw him and said, "I have seen this before." He opened his bag and took out a diary from it. It was exactly like Dex's diary. The same cover, the same mark, the same handwriting. Seeing this, everyone was surprised. But the most frightening thing came to light when they looked inside that diary. Events of the next day were written in it, which had not even happened yet. And that too in Dex's own handwriting. At that same moment, Dex's head began to spin. He said, "I have just come here today. How can all this be written?" But there was no answer to this question. This island was becoming more mysterious and terrifying with every hour. On the other side of the island, we see that Rusk, Colt, and Tag had also decided to stay for the night. They lit a fire and began to rest with their weapons nearby. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the dark forest. The three immediately became alert and picked up their guns. Then suddenly, something caught Tag from behind and began dragging him. Tag screamed and tried to get free, and when he turned and looked, his senses flew away. In front of him was a very large, terrifying beast. Then Tag understood who had torn apart the corpses they had seen. Now the beast was about to kill Tag by raising its claws, when at that same moment, Rusk reached there on time and pushed that animal back by firing a shot, which saved Tag, but the danger was not over yet. As soon as Rusk stood tag up, Colt was left alone a few steps away. Then suddenly another beast appeared and pounced on him. But this beast was even more terrifying because it looked exactly like Colt, the same face, the same clothes. Before Colt could understand anything, his imposter killed him by stabbing him with a dagger. Rusk and Tag watched all this, stunned. Now questions began to spin rapidly. Where did this second form of Colt come from? Who were these beasts? And why are fake forms of people, diaries, watches, and items being found on this island? It was clear that something was going very wrong here. On the other side, Addison's team was reading Dex's second diary, the same diary that was telling things about tomorrow. It was written in it that Stacy, who was found dead yesterday, would become alive the next day. When morning came, Stacy was standing alive. She was breathing. She was talking. Seeing this, Addison and everyone else's senses flew away. They had seen her corpse with their own eyes. She was dead. But now there was not even a single injury mark on her body. On the other corner of the island, Rusk and Tog had reached the North Camp. This place was lying completely empty. Items were scattered all around, but there was no sign of life. Then, Rusk tried to operate the camp's old walkie-talkie, and this time luck was on his side because there was another walkie-talkie in Addison's camp, and finally, both teams talked to each other. Rusk said that there are very strange people on this island. Brother, they are beasts. Something very terrible has happened here, and last night, one such beast attacked and killed Colt, and these beasts, or things, whatever you call them, look exactly like us. Addison also told a surprising thing from her side. She said that they had found Stacy dead yesterday, but this morning, she has become alive. Now both teams understood that this island was much more dangerous and strange than they thought. Outside the tent, Stacy was sitting with Dex and telling her memories. She said that she had come here with her research team 3 days ago. One of their experiments had gone wrong. People began to change and were attacking each other. They wanted to run away, but they found out they were trapped. The truth was that no one can leave from this island. Then Dex asked, "How did you survive?" Hearing this, Stacy's eyes lowered. She slowly said that she had not survived. Last night a beast had killed her. She remembers everything well, but suddenly in the morning, she woke up alive. How all this happened, she herself doesn't know. On the other hand, inside the camp, Dr. Young had quietly read Dex's diary. After reading everything, he turned toward Addison and the others. His face was very serious. He said, "I have understood what is happening on this island." Hearing this, everyone gathered around him. Dr. Young took a deep breath and began to speak. He said that this island is full of wormholes, meaning some holes made by tearing the fabric of space-time, through which one can go back and forth in time. Because of this, time does not move in a normal way here. Here time moved straight for 72 hours, i.e., 3 days, after which everything starts all over again and again. We are trapped in a kind of time loop. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Dr. Young further explained that every time this cycle starts again, some things from the previous cycle come into the next cycle. That's why they found the extra watch, this diary of the future, and that rope which Rusk felt he had tied. All these things were left behind by their own old forms. Now everyone understood that they had been here before, and that too, not just once. Every 3 days, Addison and her team reach this island again, thinking that they have come here for the first time. But in reality, it was not so. They all were trapped in the cycle of time. On this, Chase asked in a panicked voice, "Then, where did their other forms go?" Dr. Young lowered his eyes and said that most of them are dead. "I have seen their corpses, which are scattered all over the island. Their faces were distorted so that no one could recognize them. But those were you people only." Hearing this truth, everyone became silent. Now Dr. Young began to say further that not all the people died, but rather some changed with the power of this island. According to the diary, any human who stays on this island for more than 3 days loses his mind, body, and consciousness. This means that the beasts you were fighting were you yourself. It is your own old form. Then, Dex said in a trembling voice that this whole island is trapped in a cycle, and now we all are too. Then suddenly they heard growling, screaming, and the sound of footsteps. In fact, a crowd of beasts was moving toward them from the forest, and they were surrounding the camp. On the other side, Rusk and Tog were listening to Dr. Young's words on the radio when the beasts attacked them too. Dex's future diary was coming true. Fighting one's own distorted form was quite strange, but they had no other way. Therefore, they fought back. Here, Addison's team was also attacked by the beasts. Meanwhile, Chase froze for a moment because he could not fire a shot at a person who looked like him. Then, Addison reminded him that he is not you. We have to live. Finally, they brought down those wild beasts by aiming at the head. Rusk and Tog were also saved so far, but most of their bullets were exhausted, and they knew that this was just the beginning. On the other side, the situation in the camp became even worse. Stacy, whom they were considering saved, suddenly began to change her form. The effect of the experiment had happened on her too. Suddenly, she attacked Dex. Chase also fired a shot at her, but it was too late. Dex was killed in this attack. By the end of the day, they kept fighting for hours just to stay alive. Finally, Rusk contacted the company's base located outside the island. He reported that the helicopter had been destroyed and also lied that Stacy is still alive so that the company would send a rescue team. But he didn't know that the company already knew everything. They knew that Stacy was dead. They knew that this island was trapped in a 3-day time loop, and they deliberately sent the team so that they could use them for their experiment. For this reason, such people were chosen who had no one to cry behind them, so that no one would even come looking for them. Then, another terrifying truth came to light at the company's secret base. Now, in just 12 hours, the company was going to drop bombs all over the island so that this dangerous change would never reach the outside world. Now, only 5 people were left alive, and they would have to somehow escape alive themselves before the island is destroyed. Now, Rusk and Tag told everything to Addison, Chase, and Dr. Young via radio. But now the biggest problem was that their helicopter had been destroyed. When everyone began to lose hope, suddenly Rusk remembered something strange. Since coming to the island, he was seeing some things, events that never happened. He thought it was a delusion of his mind, but now he understood the truth because time is flowing backward on this island. That's why he was able to see memories of the future. In one of these memories, he saw a small boat hidden on the edge of the island, which is their last way to get out of here. Then as soon as morning came, both teams began moving toward the place where Rusk had seen the boat. Addison's team was closer, so they reached there first and began waiting for Rusk and Tog. Dr. Young checked it and told them that the fuel tank is completely full, and if a storm does not come in the sea, we can reach the city. But Rusk and Tog were still far away. They were moving forward while fighting the beasts. Their bullets were almost exhausted, and they were very tired from constant fighting. Therefore, now they had to engage in hand-to-hand combat with their own more powerful changed forms. Despite fighting bravely, finally Tag was killed by his own changed form. With a heavy heart, Rusk promised that if he survived, he would definitely find Tag's daughter and protect her. But then another terrifying shock came. In fact, a changed form of Rusk also appeared, who had a gun pointed in his hand. It seemed like the game was over, but then Chase came from behind and saved Rusk's life by shooting the mutant. But while running, Rusk stepped on a trap, causing a sharp wooden pole to pierce through his stomach. Now he was so badly injured that he could not even move. At that same moment, 12 hours were completed, and suddenly bombs began to explode all over the island. Rusk understood that he would not be able to survive. He looked at Chase and said, "Brother, save yourself." Hearing this, Chase gave his gun to Rusk with a heavy heart, and saying goodbye, ran toward the boat. This was his last chance. Meanwhile, Dr. Young was watching the bombs falling all over the island. He turned toward Addison and said that they must leave now. They cannot wait for Chase anymore. But Addison flatly refused. She was not ready to go anywhere without Chase and Rusk. Then, being helpless, Dr. Young knocked Addison unconscious and began to operate the boat alone. But then suddenly, by luck, Chase also reached the shore. At that same moment, he jumped with all his strength and caught the rope tied behind the boat. Then, Addison also regained consciousness, and what she saw was very terrifying. In fact, now Dr. Young began to change. He had stayed on the island for the longest time, and as soon as 3 days were completed, his form began to change. His eyes were glowing, and his face had become distorted. Suddenly, he pounced on Addison to kill her. At that same moment, the sound of one last bullet echoed. This was none other than Rusk. In his last breaths, he fired that last bullet from the burning island, and saved Addison's life, and then the very next moment he was killed in the blast. Now only Chase and Addison were left in that boat. They were alive, but surrounded by fire and destruction. They didn't know if they would even be able to survive. They passed through the same place where the helicopter was destroyed, but perhaps because of the blast on this island, the wormholes had shifted, and for a few moments, a safe path opened up through which Chase and Addison emerged safely from the island. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let me know your thoughts on the movie in the comments section.